Hello everyone, Miss Elizabeth here for First Congregational Church of Muskegon Confirmation Class. For today's video lesson, we are continuing Unit 4, the unit in our curriculum about how what we believe in our hearts shows in how we behave towards one another. And our lesson for today is about forgiveness and healing grace. We're following the progressive Christianity curriculum that First Congregational Church has purchased, although we do not own the copyright to this material. Without forgiveness, our hearts grow full of hurt, and there is no room for love. There is God's abundant love within each of us. But even when we try to act as messengers of love in the world, we often mess up the message. We mix up divine love with our own desires, confusions, misunderstandings, and often end up hurting one another. Then we must forgive. Our affirmation today is, I forgive as I can, and my heart is filled with light. Here's some quotes I want to share. From the Bible, a book of Matthew, chapter 18, verses 21 and 22. Then Peter said to him, Lord, if another member of the church sins against me, how often should I forgive? As many as 7 times? Jesus said to him, not 7 times, but I tell you, 70 times 7 times. From Corrie ten Boom, forgiveness is an act of the will, and the will can function regardless of the temperature of the heart. Will Smith said, throughout life, people will make you mad, disrespect you, and treat you bad. Let God deal with the things they do, because hate in your heart will consume you too. And from the Bible's book of Mark, chapter 11, verses 24 through 26. So I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Whenever you stand praying, forgive if you have anything against anyone, so that your Father in heaven may also forgive you your trespasses. From Jonathan Huey, forgive others, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. And from the Gospel of Thomas, verse 48, Jesus says, if 2 make peace with one another in one and the same house, then they will say to the mountain, move away, and it will move away. And finally, from Rolf Barnard, mercy is God's favor that holds back from us what we deserve. Grace is God's favor that gives us what we do not deserve. So, forgiveness and healing grace. True forgiveness is inward and will actually remove the hurts that we have from our hearts. Like pulling weeds in a beautiful garden. Forgiving is not simply a gift we give to someone who has wronged us either. It is a step in our own spiritual growth that will enable our hearts to blossom as intended. Developing forgiveness helps us to recognize the great gift of grace that God gives to us, each of us, over and over again. Our loving Creator God shows us mercy when the consequences that we deserve are withheld. However, the beautiful gift of unearned grace shows us how we can spread God's love in the world. Forgiveness lets us show grace to our fellow human beings, even or especially when it is difficult to do so. And that can be truly healing. If you've been following these lessons this year, you know that I feature a commencement speech that connects with the theme of the lesson. Listen to how Dean James Ryan values forgiveness as one of the essential components of grace in leadership. Here's a portion of his commencement speech to the Harvard Graduate School of Education, class of 2017. And my simple plea is this: lead with grace. To lead with grace, to me, means to lead with gratitude and with courage. It means to lead with forgiveness and to lead in the service of others. It means to lead with authenticity and with a combination of confidence and humility. As I learned many years ago, grace is about gratitude, and to lead with grace is to lead grateful for the opportunity and with thanks to those around you. To lead with grace is also to lead with courage. To lead with courage, to lead with grace under pressure, is to choose the right path, even if it's not the easiest or most popular one. It means having the fortitude not to respond to insult with insult, but to rise above. At the same time, to lead with grace is also to lead with a forgiving heart. To recognize, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, that forgiveness is not an occasional act, but a constant attitude. It is to recognize and appreciate human frailty, including our own. To know that mistakes are inevitable, no one is as bad as his worst act, and to believe that redemption and rehabilitation are always possible. Above all, it is to lead with an appreciation of the awesome and ultimately self-redeeming power you will possess to forgive others. To lead with grace is to lead in the service of others. To lead with grace is to recognize that true leadership is not about you. It's about creating the conditions and opportunities for others to be their graceful best, whether they are your students, your children, or your colleagues. Grace is also about style. To lead with style that is true to who you are. To lead with grace, you must be at ease with yourself. And you can't be at ease with yourself if you're trying to be someone else. One last point. To me, grace is where confidence and humility intersect. To lead with grace is to lead with this combination of confidence and humility. confidence in your abilities, but enough humility to recognize that you may be gifted, but you will never be perfect. Gratitude, courage, and forgiveness, service to others, authenticity, and confidence and humility. Admittedly, that is a lot to remember. And I recognize that graduation speeches are often forgotten. So, let me suggest that you remember just one word from this speech: grace. Even if you don't instantly remember all that this word means, I am confident that if you remember grace, it will help you find the right path. You all possess grace in your own way. You are both graceful and gracious. I not only believe that, I have seen evidence of it all year. Embrace your grace, cultivate it, and share it with the world, which desperately needs it. In short, and in sum, not to mention in rhyme, as you depart Appian way to make the world a better place, may you always, always lead with grace. I'll put a link to the YouTube video of Dean James Ryan's speech in the description section for this video lesson below. For those of you who are joining us in the FCC Youth Virtual Hangout session later today, I can't wait to hear what connections you've made from this. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time.